There's joy in the journey, peace in the climb. Even in the waiting, love's right on time. So breathe in the beauty, let go of the fear. You're not alone, joy is here.
Hey friends, welcome back to Joy in the Journey, a place where we find beauty in brokenness, strength in the struggle, and always joy in the journey. I am your host, Jaja Fortuna, and I am so very grateful to have you here with me today. Hola mi gente, bienvenidos a Gozo en el Viaje, donde encontramos belleza en el quebrantamiento, fuerza en la lucha y siempre gozo en el camino. Yo soy tu anfitriona, Jaja Fortuna, y estoy súper agradecida por tenerlos aquí conmigo hoy. Y quiero recordarles que pueden activar los subtítulos en YouTube y las instrucciones estarán en las notas o en los comentarios. Oi pessoal, bem-vindos à Alegria na Jornada, onde encontramos beleza na dor, força na batalha e sempre alegria na jornada. Eu sou sua anfitriã, Jaja Fortuna. Gostaria de lhe recordar que podem ativar os subtítulos no YouTube e para as instruções, vejam nos comentários ou nas notas. All right, so another week, another episode, and it is so lovely to have you guys here again with me. Full disclosure, my husband and I actually have not been in our space, our regular space, the last almost 2 weeks. So if you hear any sounds in the background, that is why I am not recording in my usual spot at home. So just ignore and focus on the sound of my voice. So this episode today isn't from a place of arrival. It's from a place of becoming, a place of healing, and a place of progress. I've talked about living with sickle cell before, and I will continue to talk about it, but I've never told you this part of the story. I have alluded in other episodes about how I had double hip replacement, and so this is kind of part one of a two-part story, because the story of me getting double hip replacement, it's quite long. This is a part where I tell you guys about how I learned I would need not one but 2 hip surgeries. So in this 2-part series, I'll walk you through first the left hip replacement and how that all went down, and the diagnosis I didn't even expect. So let's dive in. It all started at the end of August. My husband and I had just come back from a road trip to Chicago. We were walking all over the city, sightseeing, taking in the summer, We went actually to get a visa to go to Spain. We've been planning to go to Spain, but also took the time to enjoy ourselves. I was talking to my mom, and I even mentioned I'm so sore and, my hips do hurt. But I honestly thought I just needed perhaps a shot of cortisone. Yeah, like a cortisone shot. I figured the pain was just inflammation or something minor related to sickle cell. So I ended up booking an appointment, expecting the doctor to confirm that, what I already believed, that a quick injection would help. I was a little bit over my head, I feel like. Even a year before that, I had done an MRI for my right knee, and it was confirmed that I had lost some blood. How do you say that? Like the blood on my knee was basically dying. Like I had an infarct. Those in the medical world will know basically the bone is dying because there's not enough blood flow there. Anyways, so I knew that was going on, and I had a few injections for the knee before. So I figured, you know what? They're going to do an x-ray. They're going to figure out that it's probably just that. And I did not think too much of it until I booked the appointment. I remember it was August 27th. Dates stick with me. And so I remember dates very vividly. Anyways, so I was at the clinic. Everything started out as usual. The nurse took my vitals. The doctor assistant came in, asked me some questions, and then walked me over to get an x-ray. And then when the doctor finally came into the room, the energy shifted. I could totally feel the energy just shifting. He sat down, he looked straight into my eyes and said, "Well, hon, you have AVN, avascular necrosis," which in layman's term, the bones in your hips are dying. There's not enough blood supply there. He then said, "I'm sorry, but we need to schedule surgery right away." I literally froze. I honestly couldn't believe what I was hearing. I mean, just days before, I had walked all over Chicago. So how could I possibly need surgery? And more so, like, how could this be so urgent? So I guess this was mainly my right hip that he was talking about. It was slowly like deteriorating, and so it was about to get to where it was bone on bone instead of the cartilage area like being still there. I don't know how all that terminology worked, but it was not good at all. All I can say is I left that office stunned, in full-blown denial. I told myself it couldn't be that serious. I needed a second opinion. And I tried to keep doing life as normal, so to speak. Lots of quotations here. And but the truth is, I was in pain. Being that I have sickle cell, I often experience pain a little bit differently. I have pretty high pain tolerance. But October came around, towards the end of October, and I was struggling. I could barely really walk without limping. November came around. Mind you, I'm still procrastinating and just kind of walking in disbelief. I could barely sit on the toilet and not be in pain. So it was quite excruciating. I remember celebrating my dear friend's birthday. It was November 9th, and that was the first time that I ever used a cane. I started using the cane, and by that moment I had already made an appointment. A friend in my small group referred me to gave me a few names to call, a few orthopedic doctors to call. And so I made an appointment with Dr. Watson, which I'm so grateful my friend's sister had recommended, the surgeons that she did. But from the moment I walked into the clinic, this is the second appointment. This is the appointment with Dr. Watson now. This second opinion that I so wanted because I was in denial. I feel that I kind of knew that something was, different. I felt a little bit more led towards this decision or towards this doctor. I don't know how to quite explain, but I knew that I had to be in that place. Again, the whole, usual spiel, like nurses and then the assistant. And then I actually did not spend very much time with the assistant like before with the other doctor, with the previous doctor. Dr. Watson walked in and he was extremely detailed. He was gentle with me, incredibly thorough with all the explanation. We did x-rays again, even though he already had the x-rays from his coworker. It was actually same office as the other person that I had gone to and totally dismissed. But he had me do x-rays again because that was August, September, October. This was almost 3 months later from when I visited the doctor. And he did the x-ray thing, and then he said, "You know what? Tell me a little bit about your story. Tell me a little bit about you." And he just sat there. He listened to my whole story, didn't interrupt me, didn't rush me. I felt like I was being treated like family. And then he said something that actually the other doctor had not said to me. He said, "Hon, I hate to say this, but the left side of your hip is actually worse than your right side right now." Again, I was a little stunned. But this time, I couldn't hold it in anymore. I started bawling my eyes out. Right there and there, I just started crying. And he didn't flinch. He just let me have all my emotions. And perhaps that's why I felt a little bit different with Dr. Watson. He allowed me to feel all those deep emotions. It's as if he knew that I needed to grieve my sense of normalcy, because and this still gets me emotional. Like, you go your whole life doing life a certain way, and then one day you hear the words, you have to have both hips replaced. Your world is going to shift. Your world is going to feel shaky. And so I remember after he told me, the left side of my hip was actually worse. And he said, "You will need surgery." I remember he just was patient with me, and he didn't minimize my emotions. He didn't rush me out of the office. He offered me a Kleenex because I was a crying mess. And before I left, he asked me something that I will never forget to this day. He said, "Would you mind if I pray with you? Would you mind if I pray for you?" And right there and then I just said, "Yes, please." Of course, I said yes. And right there and then in that room, my doctor prayed over me. And I feel that it was everything I had been asking God for, to not be dismissed, to not be seen as just another pain seeker, to not be seen as just another patient, you know. And after that, I just remember everything went by so fast. He told me, okay, it is the end of the year. Everybody's have met their deductible, and meaning that there are very few spots on my calendar. But nobody wants to be having surgery near Thanksgiving. So the 26th of the month is available and I can do that. And I'm like, okay, if that's what needs to be done, let's do it. So I need to have a transfusion first, because with sickle cell, if you're going to have surgery, your hemoglobin level has to be at least at a 12. And I typically live at 8, 9, 10 on a really, really great day. And so 25th was the blood transfusion date, and the 26th was the surgery. But I actually didn't end up having the transfusion into the 26th because due to some complications, as the nurse joked, your special blood is taking a while to get to the hospital. Anyways, I ended up having to go to the hospital the 25th and then go home and then go back on the 26th really early in the morning, have the transfusion, and then that same morning have the surgery. So this is the 26th of November, 2 days before Thanksgiving. Typically, when people have hip replacement, they go home the same day. The maximum that they stay in the hospital is maybe 24 hours. But with sickle cell, doctor planned to have me a little bit longer just to observe me and have some extra fluids. But I ended up having a mini crisis, we can call it, where my sickle cell was acting out due to so the inflammation from surgery needed ice compress. And I did not feel anything because I was so numb after surgery that I just kept that ice for a long time, and it ended up causing a mini sickle cell crisis. So I ended up staying an extra day in the hospital, and Dr. Watson was actually the one who ended up coming Thanksgiving Day to discharge me. So 26, 27, 28, I was going home. And I just remember Dr. Watson came to see me that morning, Thanksgiving morning. Not just to follow up, but he was there to send me off. And he had a small gift on his hand and a card. And inside that card was a verse I hold so close. It is one of my favorite Old Testament verses. It is Exodus 14:14. And it says, "The Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still." Granted, he did not know that was my favorite verse. But there he was, giving me that card. And that just really spoke deeply to me. I will never forget that moment. I was calm. I was so calm. Like, not because I had all the answers, not because everything went perfectly, but because I knew without a shadow of a doubt that God was there every step of the way. I do not know how to fully explain it, but I felt so seen, so loved, so cared for, that there's no other explanation except for God's presence. Friends, healing doesn't always look like what we expect. It's often inconvenient, uncomfortable, and uncertain. But when God is in it, even the most painful journey can carry peace. Even hospital beds can hold a holy moment. This is only part 1 of my healing journey. And I can't wait to tell you guys about part 2. And I can't wait to share how my community was there, how God's hands and feet showed up. And also can't wait to share with you guys how physical therapy has been going and how it started even. Because that's all been part of the journey. And yeah, I can't wait to tell you guys how joy keeps showing up even when pain tries to steal the spotlight. So yes, please stay tuned. Come back next week. I'd love to share more with you. Friends, thank you so much for listening to Joy in the Journey with me, your host, Jaja Fortuna. If this episode spoke to something deep in you, or you know someone who have gone through a similar experience, please share this episode with them. Comment on the comments below. Send me a message on Instagram or even leave me a message here. Let's build a community. I'd love to connect. Until next time, stay soft-hearted, stay rooted, stay real, and keep finding joy even in the messy middle of your story.
There's